Okay, I'm done with that now. Let's get to business. I'm turning 30. So to give a little background as to who I is, I'm Yudi. I am 100% Nigerian. Born in Nigeria, raised in Ireland. I like to say Nigerian by birth, Irish by the grace of God. That's another story for another day, trust me. But yeah, I'm grateful to be part of two great worlds, to have had very diverse experiences in two great worlds. And yeah, I'm turning 30, and so I thought it would be a great way to mark my 30th birthday. How to mark thy 30th birthday? Reflect on the last decade of my life. Now, I know you're thinking 30 days to 30. Okay, but that's 10 years, a decade, right? 10 years. But we're talking about 3 decades. Girl, but 3 decades. But my thought was to for each year of the last decade, reflect on three significant things, something significant for each year of the last decade, and reflect on those things, and a way of marking my 30th birthday, as a way of marking my 30th birthday. So I'm hoping that as I look through each year and as I talk through each year, I'll be able to celebrate life. I know there's a lot going on right now, but it's really important to celebrate life because not everyone got to see 30, and I'm very aware of that. So 30 days to 30. Usually, if you know, I like to break out my birthday by a big old barbecue, have every single person around, but for very good reasons. We're in lockdown, we're in quarantine. So it's important that you do stay home and stay safe. And maybe we can celebrate whenever, things lift. But I thought it would still be important to mark my birthday and celebrate life, celebrate another year. So let's get right into it. 2010. What happened in 2010? Well, let me tell you, I started the year with one of the best, most significant, most important decisions I've ever made and I will ever make in my entire life. Most important. Like, I'm not even joking. Like 10 years on, I'm like, yeah, still the best decision, still the most important decision, still the most significant thing I ever did. And what was that? I said yes to Jesus. I said yes to having Christ in my heart. I said yes to salvation. And some of you might be thinking, girl, I know you. Before that, you were good. You were coming to church with me. You were, we were in the same youth group. We were in the same this, that, and the other. But hey, that was the one Yudi you knew. You never met a number two Yudi. Okay. So let me fill you in a little bit. I decided to, prior to that, I was living a double life. I was living a life in church where, that was I felt like I can explain it as that was a culture. That was something that I was born into, that, my parents did. My parents made me do. I didn't really have a choice in the matter. And so I went to church. I was the girl who spent summer in church. I mean, when I say summer, I mean the weekdays. Yeah, the weekdays I spent in church. We would have like summer school, summer camps, Christian camps. I've been to Christian camps in the United States. I've been to Christian camps in Germany. I've been to Christian camps like when I was in Nigeria. Like, I was that kid. I would go to like church, like even in the evenings, like by myself with no prompting. My sister and I would just grab each other and we're just like, right, let's go to church. So like, I mean, that was that part of me that was raised that way. But then there was the other part that was me wanting to just do my own thing. Even though I was going to church, I had this perception, which was really weird. Now, when I look back, I'm like, where did that come from? I had this perception that, and some of you may have that perception as well, or may have had that perception, that being, that God was this guy who was big up there in the sky somewhere, and this was my perception. I'm not even kidding. Now that I say it back, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so silly because that's not true. Now I know that that's not true. I thought he was this guy up there who had, who chose the people who would have a relationship with. Like, okay, right. Her there, yeah, she's good. I would choose her. Yeah, I'll speak to her. When people say, oh, God spoke to me, I'll speak to her. I'll show her things, But her, no, not my choice. Her, my choice. Her, maybe, let's see. So I had that perception that was who God was, right? I know. You might be thinking strange, or you might be thinking, yeah, that's how I feel, or you might be thinking, that's how I thought before. But that was my thought, that was my perception of God, and I carried that perception for a long time. And actually, my sister was one of those people that I thought, yeah, she's one of the chosen ones. She'd be like, God spoke to me. I'd be like, all right. And she'd be like, oh, she'd pray and all these things. I was like, she's so good. But I was literally like, she's so good. God loves her, and he doesn't really see me. So that's fine. That's just how the way things go. Where did that come from? I have no clue. Like, this is the girl who actually went to church. So I had the perception, and so for the longest time, that's how I lived life. Like, okay, God is big up there, and I'm way down here, and I'm not one of the people. So I just live my life the way I want to, and try to do good things. I mean, like, being a good person as much as I can, but not necessarily doing the things that, when you love someone, you don't want to make them sad. You don't want to make them upset, especially if you know something that you do harms them or hurts them in a way that is not going to benefit them, if that makes sense. So, me saying that, okay, yeah, I know of God, but I didn't have a relationship with him. So that was the dynamic of my Christianity at the time. So 2010 came around, and I had already been, in 2009, I'd started uni, and I was like, okay, here, this is my freedom, and I would do what I want. I would try to fill this big old empty hole with people and with stuff and with, places. And I was like, yeah, if I do this, and if I see that person, if I do that, those things that would be what fill my life. But I found myself being more and more empty, and I was like, dang, this is not working. Like, I'm doing something wrong here. And I got to the moment, New Year's Eve, where I was like, I was fed up. I was 19 years old. I was fed up, and I was like, right, something's got to change. And for me, I remembered, and I thought, okay, God is the biggest entity I know of, and I've heard of, and that exists. So my prayer was that night, God, if you're really there, I said, if you're really there, this hole that keeps getting bigger and bigger, no matter what I fill it with, it feels more and more empty. It feels like a bottomless pit. This hole, I need you to fill it, because I've tried all that I can, and I've tried the things that I felt could help fill this hole, and you're the biggest thing I know of. So if you're really there, and if you're really that big, I need you to fill this hole in my life. And I kid you not, that night something changed. Something absolutely changed. Like I felt a peace I'd never felt before. I felt like a filling. Sounds weird, but this is actually the reality of what I experienced. I felt a filling, and it may be different for different people. I felt a filling. I was like, whoa. Now, did my situation or my surroundings or my desires necessarily change that quickly? No. But I made a decision. I said, okay, God, I'm gonna walk this out. I'm gonna go one way. I'm not gonna be like torn here, there, and everywhere, and be like da 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 da. And I got plugged into church. I got plugged into being taught how to read the Bible, because that was something I'm like, I never did that. Like, I would have verses here and there thrown at me from, Sunday school and that. But I began to read the Bible for myself, and I got taught how to pray. I got taught how to read the Bible. And as I did that, change started to happen. And there was, my desires changed, the things that I wanted to do, the things that I wanted to speak, the way I was with people, a lot of those things changed. The anger that I had, a lot of those things changed as I walked out. It wasn't like that, the emptiness filled, the peace was overwhelming in the moment, but then the outworkings, the fruit of different things in my life began to change over time. I know I'm just giving a little snippet here, so like a little window, like a little picture. But if you want to know more, do feel free to contact me. But yeah, that was the most significant thing of 2010. And I'm so glad. I was like, oh, it's pretty cool that I'm starting with that, yo. Okay, I like it. But yeah, that was the most significant thing of that year. And what else happened in 2010? So tomorrow, day 2, I'm going to be telling you guys about my first international unsupervised trip to America. And guess which story I'm going to tell you about that trip. One, getting lost in Texas in 1,000,000 degrees heat, like 1,000,000 degrees. Like, man, that was not fun. 2, how did I end up in the corner of a room sharing with 3 people in LA? 3, living in the Bronx.